Speaking 101. I read my speech with my head down the entire time. When I finished, I looked up to a sea of sleeping faces. And I said, well, that's it. Are there any questions? Nothing. Are there any comments? Nothing. So I sat down to this kind of, polite applause, and they're taking the plates away. I'm feeling like a complete failure. And this one older gentleman comes up to me and says, can I ask you a question? I'm just happy to have anybody talking to me. I said, sure. He said, are you going to eat that Danish? So I've tried to lose that whole thing about morning speaking here, but I'm very glad to have the opportunity to speak to you, particularly because human resources is an area of interest to me, especially the human part, and especially the part about having to do with health, which is what I'm going to speak about today. So you've probably heard the story about the man who is a true believer in God, and he goes out swimming one day in the ocean, and he gets drawn out by the current, and he's too far out now to come back to the shore. But he's not worried because he's a true believer, and so a boat comes by and he says, I'm not worried, God will save me, and he lets the boat pass him. And then a smaller boat gets a little closer, and this guy on there sees him. He says, hey, you okay, buddy? He says, I don't need any help, I'm fine, God will save me, go ahead. So that boat goes along, and then a rowboat comes along right near him. The man in the rowboat sees him, he has a rope. He says, are you all right, sir? I can throw you the rope. No problem, I'm fine, God will take care of me. So the rowboat disappears. About 10 minutes later, the man drowns. And he wakes up in heaven. And he goes to the gates of heaven and he has his audience with God, and he's all upset. He says, I don't understand. I was a true believer. I followed you. I believed in you. Why didn't you save me, God? And God says to him, I sent you 3 books. That can't be the first time you've heard that story. Most pastors use it, rabbis use it, people use it in sermons, but it speaks to usually the idea of how fervently we believe. That's when they use it in churches or synagogues, things like that. I see the story as a bigger question. The question the Beatles once sang about, remember?
I need somebody help, not just anybody help. I need someone help.
You just did that because any chance you get to work the Beatles into a speech you're going to try to do. So how often do we ask for help?